Chairman, and thank you, panel, for being here. Mr. Cunahan, let's start with the co-ops. How many co-ops were initially created under the Affordable Care Act?
Initially, we had granted 24. One never started, so in all practice, 23.
Okay, and how many are still active today?
7.
7, okay. And we had a hearing in February, and at the time, I think there were 11, so there's been 4 more that have failed since February?
Yeah.
Okay. About how many individuals have been impacted by the co-op closures?
So I'm going to have to get back to you on that.
I have 870,000. Does that sound right?
I need to confirm that one.
Okay. If you and your family were going to buy insurance through one of the remaining co-ops, would you think that maybe you should be warned that 2/3 of these co-ops have closed in the past year or so?
Yeah, I do not, and I'll tell you why. The co-ops are like any other insurance company that are certified by a state division of insurance. They have to have the same actuarial standards, the same capital standards. They have to meet a solvency requirement. They have to meet a variety of certain circumstances. If the state certifies those issuers, if the state certifies that co-op, that feels to me that they should be on level playing field with any other issuer.
Okay. Well, President Obama said if you like your plan, you can keep it. But apparently, if you get a co-op, that's not necessarily the case. You got a 2 out of 3 chance that you're going to lose your insurance. So you're saying you would still recommend people and their families to go to the co-ops to obtain insurance?
I would say that if they are certified and licensed by the state, which they are, that they should be judged on the same basis as any other, and I think it'd be unfair not to.
The 2/3 that have failed, they weren't certified and licensed by the state?
As you know, sir, this is a challenging business. The co-ops are not the first issuers to have felt the challenge of that or to have closed.
Okay, well, you painted a pretty rosy picture of the successes of the healthcare law. Our chairman tended to disagree. Now, Mr. Cartwright said that we're enjoying a historically low uninsured rate. What is the historical low, and what year was that noted or documented?
Well, as of 2015, the uninsured rate is 9.1%. That was a drop from 16% before the Affordable Care Act.
And what's the historical low? Do we know? I'd asked this question before, dating back to 1950, and no one knew, and they were supposed to get back to me, but they never did.
Okay, I will need to do the same, sir.
Okay, so how many people are uninsured now in America? What percentage?
9.1%.
And is that taking into account that people who have lost their insurance because they couldn't afford premiums? Has there been any study? I guess I'd like to know where we got this data. The chairman mentioned that 11 million had insurance. You're saying 20 million.
Yeah.
What did President Obama say was uninsured when we needed this law?
Well, I think the difference there between what the chairman had quoted and what I had quoted was the difference is Medicaid expansion. So the 20 million that I quoted, for example, included marketplace enrollment plus expanded Medicaid enrollment.
So the average person has not really been helped then by the health care law that has to pay for it with the increased deductibles and increased premiums. We don't really have a study showing how many are just opting to pay the tax that the Supreme Court ruled was not a penalty but a tax. Do we have any studies indicating how many people have just opted out of the insurance and chosen to pay the tax?
Well, I think it's actually the opposite. I think what we're finding is that the average American has completely benefited from this law, and I'll tell you how. A is through the elimination of pre-existing conditions. B is through the elimination of lifetime caps. C is there are no gender premium differentials that there were. There's expanded coverage. It's more affordable than before. It's more.
I get the talking point. You're in a parallel universe with what I'm hearing. We hear different things back home, but I appreciate and respect your right to have an opinion. I just don't know that those can be backed on facts. Now, we had our $1.6 billion in loan money that was given out. Dr. Mandy Cohen was here before, and she said that we're going to recoup this. I asked why didn't they just call them grants, because I don't think we have any real chance of getting them back. Now, she said that they were very much loans, and we expect to get these taxpayer dollars back from these failed co-ops. And at the time, she had just started. Can you give us an update of how successful the recoupment efforts have been?
So we are in the Department of Justice is engaged in the recoupment efforts. I cannot speak for them with respect to their progress. Happy to have somebody from DOJ come.
So a half year later, we still have no update on how we're going to recoup the $1.6 billion to these failed co-ops. This is taxpayer money. They have a right to know.
As I said, the way these monies can be received, how they can be recovered, is typically when administrative expenses are paid and run-out claims are fully satisfied. For most of these wind downs, that has not occurred yet. So it's really premature to be able to speculate.
Okay, so I'm just about out of time, but I guess, I tend to agree with the chairman. We've seen 24 turn to 23 to 11. Now we have 7, and you're telling people they should still go use these co-ops with confidence that their family can get insurance and they're not going to lose it. And then you're also trying to tell them that we're going to recoup the money from all these failed businesses. I have an idea we'll probably be having this hearing again in a few months, and I anticipate, unfortunately, the chairman's predictions will come true, but we'll see where we're at. But I would like to get the data on the numbers where you're saying 20 million are now uninsured, and I'd like to see how many people have lost their insurance, because that's what I tend to hear back home, not the successes that the both of you have laid out for us today. I yield back.